Campbell back again. Today I'm going to talk about the Fryette PLIR. And in specific, I'm going to record a little track using the preloaded IRs that come with the unit. And it's super easy to do. It's not hard at all. It's super intuitive. So let's get down to it and I'll show you how I do it. All right, so first things first, the amplifier I'm playing through today is the Fryette Deliverance Series 2. This is a D120, and no, I'm not plugged into the cabinet because I live in an apartment. What do you think, I'm crazy? Well, the first thing I do is I take the standard 8 ohm out of the amplifier, and then we're gonna run it over into the PLIR, and I'll show you how we set it up. All right, so now we're gonna make 3 connections here. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get some DC power. Shazam. Then we're going to plug our amplifier into the amp in jack like this, and then we're going to make sure our impedance switch is correct. As I mentioned before, it's coming out of the 8 ohm out of the amplifier, so I have the unit set to 8, and now I'm going to take the unbalanced 1/4 inch out. This is the IR out, and I'm going to explain why I'm doing it that way right now. All right, so I run like the most minimalist sort of home studio recording setup that I possibly can, but I do have one piece of outboard gear, and it's the Strymon DIG delay pedal. And so the DIG only has the 1/4 inch in, so that's why I take the 1/4 inch, like the unbalanced out of the PLIR into this sucker, and then I take these 2 stereo outs into my interface, and that, my friends, is my insane collection of outboard gear. Okay, so now I'm basically set up, basically connected, and I'm ready to work on this track that I programmed the drums and recorded some bass for. It sounds like this. All right, so as I move into tracking here, I'm gonna have to make some decisions about, you know, the parts that I'm gonna play and the tones that I'm gonna use. And so for this first bit, I'm going to use my Grosh Electrajet, and I know for this part I'm gonna use the neck pickup. I'm gonna set the amp up for kind of a bright and beefy sort of sound, and then I'm gonna select an IR that gets me to what I'm kind of imagining in my head. Okay, so how I go about doing this, let's get a little bit more in depth into this. In Logic, same as any DAW that you'll be using, I'm just opening up a track, okay? In this instance, I'm going to be recording this track in mono. I'm not using any delay. It's gonna be bone dry because I know this part I'm gonna wind up doubling and kind of panning wide. So that's the first little bit. All right, so I'm not gonna bother with the settings that I'm using on the amplifier because not everybody watching this is gonna have a D120 at home. But I have it basically in the ballpark of how I want it to sound, and then my part sounds like this. And so now I'm gonna select the IR that I want. And for this example, I think, we're gonna use the Sound City cab with the Fane F70Gs for this. All right, so now that I have a tone that I dig, I'm gonna try and play the parts right, and it sounds like this. And now we've got to double it. And so now I'm going to play the same thing at the end of the track, but I won't bother you with that. So let's move on and talk about a clean tone. Yeah. So I got this clean part that I'm gonna track now. Same guitar, using like the second pickup position switch thing. Obviously set the amp up differently, but the big difference now is I'm recording this track in stereo. I engage the DIG and use the tap tempo function, and we're gonna give it a listen. Oh, and the IR that I use for this, kind of like going for a slightly more boxy I want this kind of thing happening. So I'm using the Ether cab with the Fane A60S IR. All gone. Sad. So now I'm going to record this little melody that I got, and I'm going to change the guitar. I'm going to use this Ronin Mirari. I'm looking for like a slightly, I don't know, like I'm hearing kind of a woodier sound, and this guitar is like a really big slab of redwood, like ancient redwood. It's kind of a weird guitar. So a little less gain than I would normally use for like a singing lead kind of thing, because I want a little bit of the cleanish character to come through. And I also don't want it to be super spiky, so I'm using the fat bottom IR right now for this. So let's give it a listen and see how it sits in the mix. It just occurred to me that it's worth mentioning that I used the same amount of delay on this last take as I did on the clean bit that I recorded, but I'm smashing it with compression in the mix to kind of bring out more of the kind of the reverb, like huge quality. So make of that what you will. And so whenever I compress any guitar stuff in the box, I just use this UAD 1176 blue stripe model, and just seasoned to taste. So this next section is it's going to be kind of a diffuse melody part played over the second half of the clean section, and I need a tone that's like it's not super focused in the mids, and things are kind of rolled off on the edges, and it's not drawing too much attention to itself. So the IR I'm using is it's the Deliverance 412 with F70Gs mic'd with a SM57. Sounds like it would be the opposite of what I'm talking about, but I think it's actually going to work for this part. So let's try it out. And so here I'm using a little less delay, and I'm not compressing it like I was in that original main melody. So the way it's going to sit in the mix is completely different. All right, so almost done here. We're going to do a little blowing at the end. Back on the Electrajet with the bridge pickup. Adjusted the amp. I want some more mid-range presence, some more top end, a little more gain. And I'm using the fat bottom cab with the Fane F70G, and copious amounts of delay courtesy of the DIG, and hopefully I can play something kind of cool here. Let's check it out. All right, so that's like 5 different parts, 4 different IRs. We had different amp settings, a couple different guitars. We had some mono parts, stereo parts, some affected parts. So there's some variety in there. So hopefully you could see that using the PLIR is a piece of cake. It's just like turning the knobs on your amplifier, or better yet, like adding seasoning to your food, you know. You just put a little in there, see how it tastes, you know. choose this IR, track apart, listen back, see if it sits in the mix the way you like. If not, then try another one. So pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So hope you like this. We're going to listen to the entire track now, and hope you tune in for the next video when we talk about the analog cab sim portion of the PLIR in practice and application. So thanks for checking this out, and see you in the next one.